The day is finally here and 1.35 for EU4 is live alongside the Domination DLC that overhauls many things involving the major powers in the game, including England, France, Spain, Russia, the Ottomans, China, Japan, alongside others. Needless to say, I have been itching to get into this patch with you guys, and what better way to kick it off than uniting metropolitan France in 1444 and seeing what they're capable of. They've received an overhaul to their national ideas and mission tree, among other things, and I'm excited to see how things go. If you have a suggestion of things you'd like to see, make sure to comment it below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more content to come. Likewise, if you are a Mega Giga Chat stud and you want early access to the videos on this channel and special roles and chats in the Discord, make sure to become one of the homies by clicking the join button below the video. I have a baby, and diapers are expensive. I could use the help. Okay, ooh, that is not gonna work. How about we do a quick, let's do a quick little here. 1, 2, 4, 7. Much better. My question of the day for you guys is, do you guys play any games other than EU4? If so, what do you play? My current guilty pleasure right now is Morrowind. I have a super heavy modded playthrough that I've been doing and I am really enjoying it, but I'm curious what you guys enjoy playing, and if you guys would like to see other certain strategy games on the channel, make sure you leave them in the comments below as well. So yes, Domination is here. We have a massive new mission tree given to the French for the third time since mission trees were introduced, because they got one in Emperor and it was not that good, to be honest with you. It was like a big square, just like one down, 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 down. So this one is hopefully going to be a little more interesting, though obviously we're not going to be playing it. We are going to be seeing how the AI handles it when they are completely united in 1444. With a total of 814 development over 67 provinces, I did go ahead and give them these privileges to give them a little bit more crown land, and even then they're slightly over. So yeah, it's going to be hard for them to expand much early on, but I'm sure it's not going to be too hard for them considering the fact that they start off with national manpower and Diplo rep, and they get Elan pretty quickly. Now they did change Elan, it's not Elan anymore, but they still get 15% morale, which is going to be incredibly powerful for them early on. You guys know the drill. We got to do that spectate the Drew Durnal mode and turn it on up to speed 5 and unpause. Now there are a lot of things that I'm excited for 1.35 and Domination, and man, I am very much looking forward to making content with this patch for you guys. That being said, if you guys have an idea of something that you would love to see, something that you think would be fun and other people would enjoy seeing as well, make sure you leave it in the comments below. And if you are excited for more content like this to come in 1.35 with the Domination DLC, make sure you leave a like on the video. We have Muscovy over here flexing their might early on. They have become a very massive nation in this patch as well. Of course, historically, Russia was incredibly powerful in the Middle Ages, and that is going to be no exception this time around. They still have the old government reform, but they get new extra stuff as well. And you can see that they actually go ahead and they start with this Tartar yoke, but they kept their permanent modifiers here that they took from this Rally the Army. And these guys are all permanent modifiers, aka they're going to be conquering a lot of land very quickly, I think. Opening moves, France decided to not ally Scotland, instead allying Aachen. Okay, Switzerland and Aragon. And I think that Burgundy joined the HRE day one because they are a prince of the HRE. They do not have their personal unions that they did before. They have a Burgundy leader, Charles. So I don't know exactly what's going on here, but either way, it looks like the Flemish are actually going to be French, at least pretty soon they're going to be French. And after conquering Flanders, France turned their sights down to the south and pushed over here into Nice and Piedmont over here. But these claims, man, I have a feeling they're going to be aggressive with it because they have 58,000 troops. So they're going to be very formidable. They are the #2 great power, assuming that Ming doesn't collapse, which, you know, Ming never collapses. But remember, Ming got some nice changes here in 1.35 as well. Take a look at the new mandate. The celestial reforms have been reworked, and there's quite a few more than there were before. I think there was like 6 before. Now there's like 20 plus. I think the decrees have been reworked a bit as well, and the way that the mandate is calculated has also been tweaked a bit. So Ming is actually going to be doing quite different from what they used to. I think that this mission tree may be new, but I'm not entirely sure about that one. Regardless, changing up the regular happenings with the Ming is always appreciated. I remember back in the day, it was like either it collapses every single game no matter what, it doesn't collapse every single game no matter what, and a little bit of variety, a little bit of collapsing here and there is good. The last patch, it collapsed every single campaign. I'm excited to see how things go this time around. And it turns out that having France on your side is actually good for business. We have Aachen here, no longer a free city because they attacked and full annexed Liège, as well as taking Jülich over here from Berg, I think it was. So, yeah, Aachen is now Big Aachen. And I kid you not, literally within 2 months, they have declared war on Austria for this Sundgau province. And Austria is the emperor of the HRE. So needless to say, I think France has some mighty big balls this time around. And for good reason, they're incredibly powerful. The thing that I really want to know is, are they going to dominate and remain dominant, or are they going to eventually collapse when other nations catch up to them? Like, if they're a rival to Spain, who ends up forming and becoming powerful, this could be, you know, a good head start for them, but it doesn't guarantee that they're going to be #1 in the end. England also got a brand new mission tree and domination as well, so it's really anybody's game. I am convinced of that. But I do have to admit, I kind of like France having Flanders. I think that Flanders should go to France in real world. What do you guys say? Now, looking over here, seeing these little rascals up here in Scotland going to war with the English, you'd think that this would be a done deal. But then whenever you take a look here, you're going to notice for some reason, England is getting dominated in this war. And I mean, like, they're full occupied almost. Plus, they have the War of the Roses. So despite having a very large army, they're not doing well. I don't really know why. I think these rebels have them scared. So their army's just hanging out up there while they get full occupied. Yeah. I don't know, man. The AI, I said the AI was getting good in my Chewy Shoot series, which you should check out my other channel. I do have a second channel. A lot of people don't know about that. Chewy Shoot is the name of the channel. I do like long form stuff. I do Let's Plays and stuff like that. So check that out if you want to see some gameplay for EU4. And I definitely think that France being so big and making Austria weak, which, like, my God, look at that Austria. I'm sorry, Joseph. But this is a very weak Austria, a united Bavaria. Switzerland has actually taken land from Austria. We have Memmingen, who is 3 provinces now. Take a look at this. Well, I think this is Würzburg or whatever this is. These guys, Ansbach actually, is 5 provinces. They are a 1 province minor. You have Hesse here, has taken over a ton of land as well. It's just like things are looking wacky. And I don't really know if it's just because, like, people are going to war because they know that Austria won't really defend them. It's hard to say, but the HRE looks really weird. And when we look at it, you can see they're not even gaining imperial authority. And we are not even into the Reformation, like not even close. We're only 20 years in, and the HRE is just absolutely in shambles. And yeah, I probably could have seen this coming. Austria, the emperor, just died, and the Palatinate is now the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, though it's anybody's game who is going to maintain it. It looks like it's still going to be the Palatinate, but for how long, hard to say. But safe to say the HRE irrelevant at this point. My goodness, every time I pause my recording, I look at the map and something interesting has happened. Ducal Prussia is here, Catholic Ducal Prussia, and my friends, it's blue. The only thing that would have been better than blue Prussia would be yellow Prussia, in my opinion. But man, blue Prussia, I like it. I like it. A lot of it, I think it's going to be divisive. I like it. I did like the gray before, but I think blue Prussia is a nice kind of difference. It's different enough that it's going to be like, you know, and people who like to play Prussia, like myself, I think it'll be a nice change of pace. Plus, the player map mode is going to look a lot better. Gray on the player map mode is boring. And the Bavarians finally fulfilling their destiny to crush the Austrians. These guys have seen better days. And I know that this sounds a little bit twisted, but knowing that my editor has to go through and look at this stuff, I kind of appreciate it because he's Austrian. Does that make me a bad guy? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. So I was looking around and I thought this was pretty weird. We have 2 provinces down here that are a tan color, and that is because they are now part of Muscovy. And you may wonder, how in the world would Muscovy get land over here? And my friends, that would be because Muscovy has gotten a personal union on Sweden. England is contesting it, but clearly when you look at these numbers, England can't do anything because Muscovy is allied to the Ottomans. So I don't know exactly what they're smoking, but whatever it is, it's getting them nice and high. And meanwhile, France continues their slow roll into northern Germany, taking some provinces from the Palatinate over here, and actually taking Zeeland from Holland and Breda over here from Brabant. So yeah, they're into the lowlands. They're also into the Rhineland. So France is making it look pretty easy, up to 81,000 troops, and they decided to go with innovative ideas for the first one, which I'm personally a big fan of innovative. It pairs very well with a couple of other mill ideas, as well as some extra Diplo ideas and all that stuff. So it just has really good policies, saves a ton of mana. So France is probably going to have plenty of mana to spare as the game goes on, which good for them. And all the while going on over in Italy, the most disgusting Thunderdome I have seen in a long time. Look at all these occupations going on for Venice. Rome is even occupied by the Florentinians or Florenzians. What do you call somebody from Florence? I don't even know. But yeah, this is a mess over here, and I'm here for it. And so a little after 1500, France is well into the Rhineland, actually controlling most of it, all the way up into Amsterdam, across there over into the northern parts of Friesland and whatnot. And they're also having a PU over Milan and claims over the entirety of Italy. Though you have to keep in mind here that Castile also has a personal union over Navarra, Aragon, and Naples, and they control all of this land at the same time, which is incredible. Likewise, Muscovy continues with their personal union over Sweden, though Sweden is very disloyal as they have England and a massive Poland with a personal union over Lithuania, of course, but they also have their March of Moldavia and Riga, actually. I saw something, I don't know if it was like event driven or what, but Poland ended up giving a bunch of land over to Riga as they were conquering it. I don't really know exactly what caused that, but yeah, that's something that happened. And funnily enough, after getting their teeth kicked in by Scotland and this Irish minor, England has done nothing for like 30 years. They have done nothing at all. It's hilarious. Also, Ramazan, the Turkish miner with probably the best color on the map, standing still, hoping that the massive Ottomans surrounding them doesn't notice that they haven't conquered them yet. The Ottomans all the way up bordering Cairo in the Nile Delta. Pretty scary. Though after the Age of Discovery ends, they will lose this Rise of the Ottomans modifier here, which is essentially resetting their decadence and making it harder for them to gain decadence. Decadence is a new mechanic for them that basically causes them to become unstable because they're decadent, right? Decadence kind of leads to the downfall of nations. Kind of like the US, we're very decadent, and that's why everything's going to hell. But regardless, after the Age of Discovery, they'll lose that modifier that I had showed you. And let's just say they lose a bad war and they have like some issues with stability. They're probably going to end up gaining some decadence. And if it gets too high, they will go through a disaster that will cause some massive issues for them, probably their entire collapse. But until then, the Ottomans doing rock solid. Meanwhile, over in India, VJ is trying to take as much of the coast as they possibly can. And Ming continues to go strong with 2 reforms passed. Low mandate, of course, but it is trending upwards at the moment. On the colonial front, we have Portugal down here in Argentina, as well as in Brazil. We have Spain in New Granada over here, and the British over here in Newfoundland in Canada. We also have Danish Greenland, historically accurate LARPing Denmark, and we do actually have an Inca that has formed a united Inca, though this Charca nation down here is separate. But yeah, I feel like you don't see that super often, so that's pretty cool. And turns out Ming collapsed. It collapsed big time. We've got a mess of tags that have popped out of it, and nobody looks to have the upper hand quite yet. But over 100 years in, Delhi has conquered all the way past Tibet into northern China, and Bengal is, you know, doing Bengal things. Meanwhile, when we look over here, you can see, oh my gosh, that's a massive Russia. It is not even 1600 yet, and Russia is this big. And Sweden is loyal. Sweden is a loyal personal union of them. Likewise, the other green guy to the south, who I believe is still their ally, the Ottomans, all the way up bordering Vienna and all the way down into Egypt and to Arabia. They actually have a couple of their Ayelet or however, their special subject types in the new patch. So yeah, Ottomans are having a very good game. Looking across the Mediterranean, Spain is doing incredibly well, very united, and Naples is still a personal union of them. And France, oh my gosh, France, pushing well up into northern Germany, well into northern Italy, bordering Bavaria, and there's only a couple of small little tags left in the HRE. Also, I think it's hilarious that Hungary's capital is over here in like Linz or whatever this province is called in the Alps, and then the other portion of their country is up here next to Bohemia. So yeah, that's a thing in this timeline. Regardless, the Commonwealth has formed and they maintain their 2 subjects of Riga and Moldavia. So there is a lot of behemoths around here, and I am excited to see who comes out on top. And I'm curious who you guys think is going to come out on top. The colonial game continues with Portugal over here on the eastern portions of South America, with Spain controlling most of the western parts as well as the northern parts, all the way over into Mexico, almost united under Spain, pushing into Louisiana. They have Arkansas and Louisiana so far, and parts of Texas over here. And then the 13 colonies is almost exclusively Britain, but they keep losing wars over and over again. So for now, either way, down here we have Scottish West Cuba and the Antilles, and I believe this is Norway. So Guantanamo is Norwegian, apparently. Regardless, the rest of the Caribbean is French, and I don't know how to feel about it. We also have a couple of based Friesland provinces over here in the Caribbean as well as the best form of Guinea, Frisian Guinea. Shout out my Frisian boys. Love you, homies. Congo is united and Kilwa is united, so 2 major tags in the south of Africa. And over here on the eastern portion, we have Somalia, who is united the entire horn with Ethiopia over here. But it's anybody's game of these guys, though. With the Ottomans tapping at their door, it's probably going to be the Ottomans. I don't really know how far the Ottomans will go in this patch, but we'll find out soon enough. Regardless, in 1577, Spain is out in the first place, but it's only because the other guys have not embraced institution yet. The real number 1 is the Ottomans, with the real number 2 being France, Spain in the 3rd spot, followed by Russia, the Commonwealth, Portugal, England, and then Japan in the 8th spot. So always like to see a strong nation that is outside of Europe in the top 8, because I feel like you don't see that very often. And so it ends up Spain is the final boss that France must face here. A little after 1600, absolutism about to kick off, and France is actually losing this war. You can see here the losses are pretty similar from side to side. Spain with 111,000 on their side, but France with a measly less than 50,000. Safe to say, Spain is actually more overpowered than France in 1.35. And meanwhile, the Ottomans continuing to absolutely dominate. Though, taking a look here, you'll see the zenith of the Ottomans is underway here, and at the end of the Age of Reformation, I believe they will entirely lose this modifier altogether, and the inevitable downward spiral of the Ottomans into decadence is basically destined to happen. Also, funnily enough, it looks like Russia has pushed down into Iran, and they actually control basically all of the land here, minus a couple of provinces, though they do not have a lot of the land over here in Afghanistan, because Russia is unable to conquer Afghanistan. We all know that. I'm an American. I know a lot about not being able to conquer Afghanistan. And then meanwhile, out west, it's all still a mess. Completely disgusting, and I don't want to look at it, so I'm not going to look at it until we're done with the game. The New World continues to develop as it has been. No major surprises here, though we do have a Cuba that has formed here, a crown colony of Scotland. The 13 colonies continue to dot the east coast over here, and that is about it. Of course, I have to tell you guys my obligatory Spaniards over here speaking Spanish over in San Francisco with the poo-poos on the street.
Wait. There actually is a map of San Francisco where turds have been observed on the street. That is unbelievable.
And an interesting new feature here in 1.35, we have a core islet of Yemen over here, the same color as the Ottomans, though it is the tag Yemen, which is pretty cool. It's a new thing that they added. You can actually change country's color. I know it's a very innovative thing, but you can now do it now in this game after 10 years of development. And unless anything mega interesting happens between here and the end, I'm going to skip to the end, but I'm going to leave you with this. We have Spain out in the number 1 spot, followed by Russia very closely, and France neck and neck with Russia, but after losing a war to Spain, they're probably going to slide a little bit. We do have the Ottomans, who are the true number 1 great power, if they were to embrace the institution, and I'm curious to see how the decadence affects them in the long game, followed by the Commonwealth, Great Britain, and then with under 1,000 development, we have Portugal, and then Korea actually in the number 8 spot with 515 development. And in 1821, France exists, but to be honest with you, it looks pretty similar to how it did last time we looked about 200 years ago, as does Spain to the south of them, though it looks like they decided to move a bit more into Africa than most other nations. Though of all the iterations of the Balkans, I think the Spanish Balkans mixed with the Polish Balkans is probably my favorite, because boy, did the Poles conquer a lot of land, all of Anatolia for the most part, all the way down into Suez in that area, past Jerusalem, splitting most of the land with the most massive Russia I have ever seen the AI do. And I don't know, I assume it's probably because of the domination mission tree, but my goodness, that is a beefy Russia. Delhi decided to split India with VJ and China with Russia, so that is pretty impressive, though Japan still maintains a bit of a presence over here in Manchuria with Haichi, and Korea actually left the peninsula, if you can believe that. Good name placement for Korea. I like that. And Japan's name is actually, wait a minute. Nani? The name checks out. We have a Catholic Japan, lads. I have nothing to do with this. That's awesome. We have a bastion of Catholicism over here in the East. Well done. And now's the time that I reveal that I called this the West earlier in this video, and that was to see if people would leave a comment talking smack on me, saying I don't know my cardinal directions. Joke's on you, turds. I knew. Everything in both Australia and Australia is all Portuguese, as is Northern Africa. Central Africa is Kilwan and Spanish, but then you can't forget about Norway down here with their capital in Lesser Napoleonland. The New World maintains their subject status with Rio de Prata and Brazil going to Portugal, Peru and Colombia going to Spain, as does New Spain, as does the entire left coast, including Pacifico Norte, Louisiana, and the entirety of the east coast of America. So it's safe to say that Spain had a prolific colonial game. And the polite hat of Spanish Louisiana and Florida is Newfoundland, a subject of Great Britain, with anything on the east coast that has coast being owned by the French. This is peak Denmark right here. Capital not even in Eriksfjord, but in this Vestbygden or whatever that is. So Denmark seen better days. Though this dude, he looks slick. I like that. I'd fight alongside that soldier. That is a nice looking hat. Shout out Hamburg, a couple of provinces over here in northern Germany, and shout out Frankfurt, 400 years and did not move. That is incredible. And in the end, it's all Catholic Anatolia. Never thought I'd see that in my life, but it looks like the AI did a really good job of converting, though we have one reformed province right here in Hungary's capital that they have been in for hundreds of years, and then Protestant here in Hamburg in northern Germany. We have obviously a big Orthodox Russia. Safe to say Orthodox won the game, and we have a reformed Great Britain. As you would expect, the New World is exclusively Catholic except for Newfoundland. And interestingly enough, Denmark is Orthodox with their capital following the true faith. So interestingly enough, Islam was, for the most part, kicked out of its homeland and is actually expelled to China. China is the home of Islam. That, as well as portions of the Horn of Africa and random provinces throughout. Of course, North Africa is, but it is not the state religion of any nation. And shout out Coptic to Province Nubia. Very nice. Culturally, the Pomeranians were exclusively conquered by the Poles. And shout out Slovaks, removed from the Carpathian culture group, which I have heard a lot of complaints about in the past couple of months. So shout out Slovaks, my Slovak boys. I love Slovakia. And speaking of the other Slovakia, Slovenia, it has actually been entirely converted by the Venetians, and the Lombards have pushed a lot of the Umbrians out of this area as well as the Tuscans. Sadly, my Flemish lads were replaced by Walloons, which I think if you ask any Flemish, that is like the worst case scenario. And meanwhile, in South America, it is almost all Brazilian with Platinian in the north. Of course, North America is all Mexican, just like in real life. And now's the part where you type out an angry comment saying, "That's insensitive to make a joke about Mexicans in America." Listen, Linda, listen. There's always time for jokes. I promise. I love you. Except for you, Kyle. You're a punk. Regardless, we have English over here on the east and in the north, with American culture almost exclusively in Canada. And despite France starting with over 800 development in 1444, they finish in the 3rd spot behind Spain and a massive Russia. After that, it is the Commonwealth, Delhi over in India, followed by Portugal, VJ, another Indian tag, and Great Britain in the 8th spot with just less than 2,000 development. Of course, we have a fully stacked economic hegemon for France and a very beefy Russia currently working on military hegemon with over 1 million troops in the field. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. It was a lot of fun to make. I'm very excited for more content to come in 1.35, and if you are as well, make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. And a huge shout out to the patrons and channel members who keep this channel going. If you want early access to these videos and exclusive Discord benefits, make sure you check out the link in the description or the join button below the video.